Alright. Here is the RealMe 10 Pro 5G. The phone was released last November of 2022, which is still pretty new. What I got here is the max variant of 12 gigs of RAM with 256 gigs of storage and the color of hyperspace gold. We have the usual inner box here that greets us with "Hey, welcome to the RealMe family." And at the back, let's embrace a new journey. A nice personalization touch. Inside the box, we have the paperworks, the SIM ejector, and a free, really soft jelly case, which I doubt if it can protect the phone. Here's the phone itself. But let's check out the rest of the box first. We have the 33-watt Super VU charger here, which has a USB Type-A interface, as well as the charger data cable of USB Type-A to Type-C. Okay, let's get to the phone itself. Wow, this is an eye candy. The back of the phone is made of plastic, that's why they can basically do all the wild glittery, sparkly fairy dust type of design here. Look at that. RealMe 10 Pro 5G has a dimension of 163.7mm height, 74.2mm width, and an 8.1mm thickness, and weighs 190 grams. At the left side of the phone we have the SIM tray. The SIM tray can host 2 SIM card and a micro SD card. But SIM 2 and the micro SD card is a shared space. So you can only choose one of them, either use a second SIM or an expandable micro SD card, and not both at the same time. At the bottom part we have the 3.5mm jack, a microphone hole, the USB Type-C charging port, and the single bottom firing speakers. At the right side, we have the power button that doubles as a fingerprint sensor. I like the side-mounted fingerprint sensor. It is fast and accurate and never fails. Compared to the last 2 phones I've reviewed, the Galaxy A12 and the Poco M5, this is way faster, which is great. Then above the fingerprint sensor we have the volume rocker. At the top, we only have another microphone hole here. The overall looks of the phone is definitely stunning. I like it very much. This design might not be for everyone though, especially those who likes minimalist. Luckily for them, it comes with 4 colorways. The hyperspace gold, which is what I have here. The dark matter, which is the black color and probably what the minimalist would want. A nebula blue, and a limited design of a Coca-Cola edition. We have 2 cameras at the back, which are hosted in 2 big lens circles here. The main lens is a whopping 108 megapixel camera with an aperture of f1.8 and PTAF. The other one is just an add-on lens, which is a 2 megapixel depth sensor. So basically, you only have one rear camera on this phone. But hey, it is a freaking 108 megapixel. The selfie camera is a 16 megapixel sensor with f2.5 aperture, which is another big upgrade to the last 2 phones I reviewed. The Poco M5 and the Galaxy A12. Both the main rear and selfie lens video recording caps add only up to 1080p 60fps only. These are limitations to the Snapdragon 695 chip. The camera UI is the same as most from other Android phones, with the exception of street mode, a 108MP mode, which is not advisable since it will eat up a big chunk of your storage. A group portrait mode, which the name already explains what it is. And this dual view video, which lets you take a video using the rear and front camera at the same time. It is a great idea tool that you can use for vlogging. But it is not entirely new, as I remember, the LG G6 was the first phone to introduce this feature back from 2017. The display of the RealMe 10 Pro 5G is one of its biggest assets. Although it is just an IPS LCD display and not an AMOLED, it packs a 120Hz refresh rate with 600 nits of brightness, which makes it really snappy to use, and you can use it outdoors without any problem. As you can see here, with auto brightness on, I have no problem at all, even when I put the phone under a bright sunlight. Since this is an LCD screen, we definitely don't have a variable refresh rate here, but you can set it to be fixed on a 60Hz refresh rate if you want to preserve the battery life, or lock it to a 120Hz. Or, which is what I recommend, set it to auto select, where the system will adjust its refresh rate between 60 to 120Hz, depending on what you are doing. The screen is 6.72 inch with almost 90% screen to body ratio, which adds to the sexiness of the phone. It is almost bezel-less. It is a 1080p panel with 1080 by 2400 pixels at 20 by 9 ratio, an average 392 pixel per inch density. The screen is protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 5, which is great. And I find it weird that RealMe UI4 did not put an always-on display here. Probably because it is an LCD panel and AOD might drain the battery fast. This is the first time I've used RealMe UI4 and I like it. It is clutter-free than most Chinese OS, no ads popping up on every move, and it is organized. It is running under the latest Android 13, and under the hood, we have the very capable 6nm Qualcomm Snapdragon 695 5G with a GPU of Adreno 619. The UFS 2.2 RAM and storage variants for RealMe 10 Pro are 128 with 6, 128 with 8, 256 with 8, and a maximum of 256 with 12 gigs, which is what I have here. RealMe 10 Pro 5G has a single loudspeaker located at the bottom of the phone, beside the 3.5mm jack. Although it has a 3.5mm jack, I don't see any FM radio app here. The phone also boasts about their audio boost, which lets you turn up the volume up to 200%. Does it really double the supposedly maximum volume, or do they just change the label from 100 to 200%? Let's listen to it and you be the judge. There you go. The speaker is definitely loud enough, but cranking it up to 200% cause a little bit of distortion in the sound, especially when listening to a music. When watching movies or series and you only get the dialogues, that 200% audio boost will be good to have. The 5000 mAh lithium polymer battery is what powers up the RealMe 10 Pro 5G, which gives me more than a day usage. Of course, if you are playing games all the time, or watching videos with full loudspeaker volume or taking videos or picture all the time, you will only get about 4 to 5 hours screen on time. But for average usage, those of us who have a life other than the phone, like browsing, social media, few games, few media consumption, I usually end up having 30 to 40% juice left when I go to bed. Charging is great as well, since it comes with a 33-watt charging brick, which can charge the phone from 0 to 100 in about 70 to 75 minutes. The phone, having a plastic back, is obviously not supporting a wireless charging. Overall, I am, and I assume a lot of you watching as well, will be very satisfied with the battery life and the charging speed of this phone. I am posting the benchmark score of the RealMe 10 Pro 5G in the screen, if you are interested to know that. For real-life benchmark of using it daily for more than 2 weeks now, I am really impressed with this phone's performance. I did not realize that Snapdragon 695 5G is a solid chip until I used this. All the things that I can do with my Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4, which is a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip, I can also do on the RealMe 10 Pro with very minimal lags. I can even play COD Mobile on the highest settings here with a very minimal or almost no lags at all. Aside from COD Mobile, the only graphics intense game I play is Asphalt, and I did not experience any performance issues with the game neither. Overall, RealMe 10 Pro is a really solid high-performing mid-range phone. For photography, you can't expect less from the 108 megapixel lens. On a well-lit environment, the pictures are superb. Although it does not have a telephoto lens, 108 megapixel is big enough to provide a photo zoom by cropping the huge 108 megapixel photo. It can go up to 6 times zoom, but I think the photo integrity is only preserved up to 2 times. When you zoom in further than 2x, everything starts to become grainy. On low light, the big 108 megapixel lens still captures a lot of light and still produces a very decent photo. When you try to zoom though, even just for 2x, the photo already becomes grainy and it becomes worse as you zoom in more. So I don't recommend using the zoom in low light. But the help of the 2 megapixel depth sensor, portrait shots come out great as well. Bright environment produces great shots with accurate bokeh effect and edge detections. On low light, although the blurring and edge detection is still great, the photos come out a bit noisy, but still very usable. The 16 megapixel selfie camera is decent enough and produces photos that are very passable for social media postings. Although the subject detection is a hit or miss. As you can see in these photos, the background is way more crispier than the subject, but it's nothing a simple tap on the screen can't fix. RealMe 10 Pro has a trick up its sleeve when it comes to a low-light selfie shot. It automatically brightens the screen, which serves a ring light for your selfie shot. I'm sure the selfie addicts out there would love this feature. Don't take your picture too close though, as it is prone for overexposure. Videos on the rear 108 megapixel camera on a bright environment is just like in the photos. They are great. It captures a lot of details, it is vibrant and smooth. Autofocus on the lens is really good as well. It automatically adjusts the focus really fast and it works every time. I can say the same for the auto exposure adjustment. As you can see here, I am switching between a shaded area and an area exposed to a bright sunlight, but the adjustment of the video's exposure is so seamless that you would think both areas have the same amount of lighting. Really great. One weakness of this camera system though is the lack of any stabilization. No OIS nor an EIS here whatsoever. So I suggest to bring some kind of gimbal or a tripod when you want to shoot using this phone. Low light video is a total trash. On photos, the 108 megapixel shots are still good in low light, but the video is a totally different story. I don't recommend shooting a video on a low light environment from this phone. It is the same case for the 16 megapixel selfie camera. Totally unusable footage when shooting on a low light environment. Selfie videos are good though in a well lit environment, but just like the main lens, it totally lacks any kind of stabilization. Alright. To conclude this review, I believe the RealMe 10 Pro 5G perfectly represents the saying you get what you pay for. It costs 4 to 5,000 pesos more than the other entry-level phones out there, but it costs way less than the flagship phone prices, which is where it should perfectly be placed in the price charts. It has more features and better specs compared to the entry-level phones, but also lesser compared to the flagship phones, which is, again, a perfect place for a mid-range phone. RealMe 10 Pro 5G cuts corners on the perfect places, like removing wireless charging, water resistance, glass backplating, ultra-wide-angular telephoto lens, which, let's face it, are not really that important for most people. Other than bragging rights of having these features, most of us does not really use them. RealMe 10 Pro 5G then pumps up specs on the perfect places, like the great 108 megapixel main camera, a huge battery, fast enough charging, a great screen, and a bold design, which most of the people actually use, what we are looking for, and interact with. So for my recommendation is, it is totally up to you, your budget, and the important features that you need. I must say this though, if ever I am limited to less than 18,000 budget phone, RealMe 10 Pro 5G will definitely be on top of my list. If you enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up. If it has helped you in any way, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Nilasuj for watching. Noba Air.